Hey guys! Hey guys, we are live from the lounge tonight at Hitting the Street Podcast, and here in a few minutes we're going to start. We're going to wait for some people to get on. I have Melissa Thiel here and Barbara Bowie. Did I say that right this time?
You sure did.
So I hope we have some people join us. Here in a minute we're going to start. Now, first of all, let me see. Did I delete what we just did? Hold on. I'll pull this out again. Hey guys. No, I did not. So let me delete that. How about I delete that and start over? Because I'll be in add it every time. Hold on, let's see. Okay. Let me put this back in and we'll start over. This is the beauty of all of this. I get to go test 1 2, test 1 2, make sure everything. Yeah. Oh, I don't even want to talk about editing.
Terrible.
Oh, I'm horrible. And it's because I don't know the shortcuts, you know what I'm saying? So when I do it, it's just like, it's over and over again. And then it just takes me hours, where one person can just, like, easy.
Well, editing takes hours anyway.
That's true. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist, so I work like, yeah, and then I get stuck. And then I'm like, I gotta walk away from it. Do you know what I'm saying? So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. I don't know if anybody's on. I think we got some people on, yeah. So here we go.
You do?
Yeah, I think so. Let me go ahead and see if the microphone's ready to go. Hey guys, it's your crazy ray of sunshine. It's Shell, your rolling MC, and this is Hitting the Streets podcast show. Tonight on the show, we are coming live from the lounge. Yes, this is the first recording from the studio lounge, guys. I have Melissa Thiel here, who is the chairperson of the historical marker of the 1930 Sherman Race Riot. And I also have the lovely Barbara Bowie. Aha, I got it right this time. Mississippi Freedom Rider. So I am going to start with Melissa. Melissa, please introduce yourself once again. I know you've been on the show before, but tell everybody a little bit about you.
Yeah, it was when we looked it up March, almost a year ago I was here. I'm from Grayson County, lived here all my life, went to school in Tom Bean, went to Grayson County Junior College, got my associates, and then kind of quit school for a while and went back to Texas Women's University, got a degree in history, and then just kept going and got my master's in history with an emphasis in public history. So that's things like museums, historical markers. It's basically teaching history outside of the classroom. So that's kind of where I specialize. And then we started this, historical marker project June of 2020.
Oh my gosh, that's right. It's been over a year. And just kind of give us a little bit of introduction about you, Miss Bowie.
Thank you. Yes, I am founder and executive director of the Dr. Bowie Scholarship Foundation, and this organization was started back in 1997, actually.
Oh wow!
So, and it started as a performing arts after school and summer program, and the reason was that young people usually don't have an outlet for expressing their feelings, their frustrations, or whatever. And I got involved. I'm also a poet, so I got
Very cool.
I got involved in the poetry venue and realized that when the kids would come reading their poetry, it was usually about incest or abuse or those things. And I said, wow, these kids need some outlet.
Oh my gosh!
And that's how I started it, and that's been going on for over 20 years. It's an amazing program.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're here tonight, guys. I told you guys before that we would come back and do a post show of our journey and our experience of the historical marker, pursuing the historical marker of the Sherman Riot of 1930. So I have Melissa here to talk about just a little bit about how we got started, but where we are, in the process. But I want to really talk about the experience of it all. I mean, the majority of you guys know we went through a lot. We had a 6 months stall out, stonewalling, and at one moment, I think we kind of thought it wasn't gonna go through. We wasn't gonna get there. But I'm telling you, we had a lot of fighters in our group. A lot of people came and spoke up. So Melissa, just kind of tell us a little bit, share your experience and your journey and how we overcame and got that victory.
Yeah, so when this started in June of 2020, and I've said this before, I was naive. I thought I brought a paper, we put the historical marker up, and woohoo, we'd all be happy. That is not. I should have talked to Miss Bowie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
She could have set me straight, and I needed some of that.
Yes,
I needed
for
some
sure.
real life stuff. But you know, as soon as we got started, I realized this is going to be a fight, and we had to get through a few approvals to get the marker. So the first one was the Grayson County Historical Commission, and that's when we talked. It was right after that.
Yes.
So we got that approval, and that was a little bit of work, but we got that approval, and the second approval is from the landowner. So that is going to be our county judge and commissioners.
Right.
And that is that 6-month stall out you were talking about.
Right.
So we had to get on the commissioner's court agenda, and they would have to say, yes, you can put this marker at the courthouse. But we tried for 6 months to get on the agenda, and that was something. We had town hall meetings. You know, we went to Arts Fest. We went and spoke at Austin College.
There were several things. There were several functions of June 19th.
Juneteenth. We went to the
Juneteenth.
And every single week we asked the commissioners to put the historical marker on the agenda. I think we asked 22 times.
I was going to say, it was about 22 times we
22
requested.
times, and then we sent a petition every time with names of people from Grayson County that supported the marker.
Mhm.
And then eventually, after that town hall in August, is when we started getting speakers to come every Tuesday. Miss Bowie is one of those speakers. She let them have it.
She did.
I
As a matter of fact, you spoke up during the town hall meeting and spoke very well about as to why this was so important. But really quick, while you're bringing it up at the town hall meeting, I want to thank Sarah Myrick, who works at the First United Bank. She was the one that lit that match to say, I am going to go speak at Commissioner Court on Tuesday. Who's joining me? So I really want to give a shout out to her really quick.
She did. She was the first one to say it, and then other people raised their hands and said we would do it too, and that's what got that momentum started. And when we went and spoke every Tuesday at the Commissioner's Court, that added so much more pressure because it was public. Everything else we were kind of doing was quiet, or you know, it wasn't in the face of the judge and commissioners, but this was public. Every Tuesday, we recorded it, we put it on YouTube, everybody could see it, and they had to sit there and look us in the face while we were begging for them to have, you know, historical equality in Grayson County, to recognize this event that has such an impact on all of our community, but especially our black community, and to say we cannot recognize it because it's too hard is a slap in the face to the people here.
Well, I want to ask you really quick too, and while you're bringing that up, how many more times before you did someone try? I can't remember the number.
I believe it was 3. So like almost every decade or so, somebody tried to get this marker. I know one person came to do research and was looking into the marker, and their tires got slashed. I believe they were from Austin, a professor at Austin, and then they went back home. They were like, forget this.
Wow.
Dr. Light Cummings is a
yes,
professor
Dr.
at
Cummings.
Austin College. He tried to get one at the 50th anniversary. He could not get enough support to do it. And I think it's Dr. Phillips, a gentleman named Dr. Phillips, did some research at Austin College, did some interviews, and those went missing from Austin College. Wow. Yeah, so there were several things going on where people trying to recognize this history, trying to talk about it, trying to get a marker, and either they were threatened, but their lives were threatened, things went missing, or there just wasn't enough support.
You know, it's crazy because when you take a step back and you look at it, even though we had our 6 months, of stonewalling and being stalled out, it was really longer than that. If you really look at the timeline and the history, you had 3 other people that came before you, and it didn't get done. You know, and I'm thankful that we have a victory here. Yes. But it just takes me back how long something so simple that could have been done, and the publicity of it all. That was another thing too. I feel like you had to do, or we all had to do those things so we could be heard. You know what I mean? And so it was a tough thing for me, realizing that something that was so simple. I'm not gonna say I was naive, but I really didn't think it was gonna take 6 months, if I had to be honest with you. I'm glad I was a part of that. You and I working together, oh my gosh, Melissa, I had to have some growing moments because she really pushed. She pushed me into a lot of things.
Yes, I must congratulate her because that was just amazing.
You know, it's great to work with individuals that has so much stamina and so committed as you are, and you too as well. You coming in and making a stand and speaking up. I think you were one of the first. No, you and Sean Norton were the first two people to stand up at that town hall meeting and to speak. And then once you guys started talking, everybody else started talking, and it just, you know, it takes courage and bravery to do those type of things. And I'm gonna tell you, I had a hard time, but then there was just something in my spirit that was like, you know what? Okay, here we go.
Right.
Here we go.
It shouldn't be this hard to recognize history, something that happened. And I think one of the most eye-opening things for me is, you know, a white lady living in Grayson County, in a predominantly white county, things aren't hard. It's not hard to recognize my history. And for the smallest thing to be recognized to be such a fight, it was so eye-opening to see what our black citizens go through. And then this is just a small.
Oh yes. Oh my God, yes. You know, one of the questions somebody asked me this, I can't remember who. They said, so here we go. Why would a white lady, here we go, want to do that? You know, and I was like, have you asked her? Have you gone to her and asked her? Because she's everywhere. She'll tell you, you know. And that was one of the main questions that was asked as to why you felt like you needed to be the one to do this. Now, I know your history because you talked about it on the other episode that we had, and I know George Floyd was part of that. But I also want to bring back up what happened to your father. Because I think that with that story that you shared got overlooked. And I know that was also another reason why you want to do this. So please tell that story again to our audience, what happened to your father and that baptism that he was trying to do.
Right, so my dad is a Church of Christ preacher, so I grew up a preacher's kid. And he had told me a story that he was in Mississippi, and he was preaching at a church, and he was preaching to black people, inviting, everybody come to church, and he was in the process of baptizing a black lady. And members of that church came and said, basically threatened his life and said, we're going to blow up. He took a travel trailer around, we're going to blow up your travel trailer. Like, basically, we're going to kill you if you keep doing this. And then they came to the church a few days later, met him up there with a gun, and threatened his life for preaching the gospel to everybody. And my dad's response to them was, what color is a soul? They can't answer that.
Wow.
And
wow.
Great.
And we talked about that. Maybe selfishly, I didn't see it until it happened to someone in my family. And I just remember being appalled, like, these are Christian people. That's not love. That's not what we're taught. And it bothered me. And, that story stuck with me for a long time.
That's something for all of us to think about every day. Because I think we tend to forget a lot of the media and different things that people push those agendas. We tend to forget that at the end of the day, we're all humans and we all have a soul.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So really quick, Barbara, tell us a little bit about Mississippi Freedom Riders, and I'll get back to you, Melissa, but I want to make sure I spend some time with you. Tell us about your journey in that and your activism.
Well, that story of your father and what he went through is very familiar to me. However, I did not, for so many years, think of myself as a freedom rider because my brother, who was 6 years older than me, I was 13 when we started, he was 19. And he was one of the ones who spent 39 days in the Mississippi Penitentiary, one of 400 of them, for walking into the bus station and going where it says whites only instead of colored only. So I loved my brother, I always wanted to do everything he did. And with me, he lived in New York. With me having this organization, after the 50th reunion of the Freedom Riders in Jackson, Mississippi, we all went. I started a program called Get on the Bus with the original Mississippi Freedom Riders in San Antonio. And initially, I'm presenting my friends, other Freedom Riders, right? And I did not really see myself as a Freedom Rider, although I went through quite a bit. I had just a lot. We did sit-ins and we did I was one of the ones who sat on the front of the bus and was cursed out by
Wow.
a white guy, and so went through a lot. But I didn't see myself as that until my brother became ill in New York, and I had to go there. And really on his dying bed, which is another story, but anyway, he said to me, "You're always present," because I wanted to get some conversations with him before he passed, and he said, "You're always bringing the Freedom Riders, presenting them." He says, "Why aren't you feeling a part of that?" And I told him, I just didn't, I wasn't on the bus, I didn't go to prison, and he said to me, he kind of validated me, and he said, "But you were an activist." He said, "Mama told me about your experience on the bus, sitting in the front of the bus and what you went through. And you went with me to different cities and when we were having meetings, and you guys did all kinds of sit-ins in the city." And he said, "You're just as, you're just as much a freedom rider as I am or any of the rest of them." And this was, back in 2017, and I said, "You're right. I just, hadn't felt that until he validated me that way." So now I've accepted that and feel good about bringing the other freedom riders, and we all get involved in doing the youth summits and the community empowerment discussions and summits. So,
you said something that reminded me. Okay, so when we was at the town hall meeting, and I think you said this too at Commissioner's Court, you spoke up and said, "We will do a sit-in." I was like, "Yes, ma'am. Right here. I will sit with you. I ain't scared."
Yeah.
You said that, if I'm not mistaken, at the informational meeting, I heard you say that, and then I heard you say it at the commissioners, and I was like, well, somebody better bring me something to eat because we just to sit in.
Because those sit-ins really work. Because when you're in the face of those people, and I meant that, I would have gone to their office doors and just sat there until they, every day until they realized that this is something that needs to happen. And those sit-ins worked back in those days.
Oh, it would work now.
Like,
it would work now because you know why? It's unexpected. And majority of them don't have a clue what a sit-in is.
Well, can you imagine if they arrested Miss Bowie, a freedom rider?
Girl.
We would have been like, media.
I'm gonna tell you, I would have my sign out there protesting,
right.
even if I was the only one out there. I'd be like, "Free Miss Bowie," yes. So what was your experience? Kind of tell us a little bit, because I know you were a part of this too.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel? And I know we have a victory right now, but during the 6 months of us being stonewalled, what was you thinking?
I came in late, but when I got the whole gist of what was going on, I've been an activist all of my life, really. And I felt like, no, this is a fight. And I needed to be involved in it because this is what I do. And so I felt really good about getting involved. I felt that we could have a victory, but we needed to push. Right. You have to push and you have to stick with it. And so I was very elated about that. And I'm glad that we have this victory. However, we need to build on this victory and not let this be an end.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to continue working. We have to, we do a ceremony called passing the torch. We have to get the younger people involved so that this can continue, because we are not near where we need to be. as far as equality, justice, and all of that. I just feel like it's something that needs to continue.
I totally agree with that. This was just the start of it.
That's right, it's a stepping stone.
Yes.
This will be the first time that it's ever been officially acknowledged by this county. And now the city of Sherman is talking about working with the Equal Justice Initiative.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. What do you know exactly what they're doing, or what's coming to the table for us with them?
I don't know everything. I know that they're planning. I don't know if the process has gotten started, but they also made it public with the Herald Democrat that they were going to be working on this, so it's not like a secret. But the Equal Justice Initiative recognizes racial inequality and lynchings and how this history of lynching and Jim Crow affects people today with mass incarceration and things like that. So they kind of bring it all together. So what the city of Sherman would do is work with this group, the Equal Justice Initiative, and they do like a soil collection program where you can collect the soil where somebody was lynched. You do community education. There's a lot of education that goes into it. And then you get a plaque, a lynching, a marker. It's not a Texas historical marker, but it's a big marker that explains what happened at the lynching site. So it's a way to work with communities to work through some of this racial terror and things like that, and discuss how it affects today. So that would be a great thing if the city of Sherman continues that effort too. And then Grace United Methodist Church has started the George Hughes Memorial Scholarship.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Senior.
Yes, that's great.
So that's another thing that's going on. Grace United is also doing a civil rights tour.
Yes.
In March, we're taking a bus and we're going to like Montgomery and places like that. So it's just started this whirlwind of other people stepping up and talking about it and doing things.
I think people want this. I think there's so many people here in our town that wants this and want this history and want to learn about it. And what can they do to step up and do something to bring more of that here? I know Melissa Easton, who is over at the Sherman Public Library, she is great at sharing history that has happened here, and there's so much more that people don't know about. And if you guys ever get a chance, Melissa Easton at the Sherman Public Library, she has all kinds of stuff of history related here. The saloons, the westerns, everything that has happened here in this town. She is a very she's a great connection to have and a resource for all that information. I know there's other people who are still living here that their parents or grandparents was a part of a lot of what happened back in the 1930s. That they still talk about it, and they has really come forward. Yolanda, being one of them, has came forward and told us several stories of what she heard. And Calvin Holland is another one that spoke up. What was Yolanda's last name? So Boyd. Yolanda Boyd and Calvin Holland had spoke up about the history of the 1930s. Right? That we didn't know that they still here and had that information. So this brought all that out.
Information because we're doing the second Black History Month festival in February, bringing the Freedom Riders. I'm trying to get a great guest speaker. We want to do a banquet, and don't know enough people to engage the ones that need to be involved in this. The mayor of Denison is into making this an annual thing.
Oh, Mayor God.
So,
Love her.
She's great. And so, this is something we're going to be doing a parade. We're going to do
that's awesome.
Community summit. Of course, we do the youth summits at the schools. We do that. But this is to engage the community. And I want to expand on the panel, not just Mississippi Freedom Riders, but others who have gone through, even Holocaust survivors, So we need to keep this history alive, and that's one of the reasons. And I want to say that, you were saying that someone had asked you, why would a white woman want to do that?
I had that asked me more than once.
Yes. Well, the Freedom Riders were 50% white. So people think that, it's an all black thing, but whites have been involved from the very beginning because there are so many who really care about equality, And so It's an easy thing.
I wanted to bring that up again because of that story. You know what I'm saying? And it solidifies exactly everything that you have been doing. You're part of that history. You dealt with that as a child.
Yes.
And there's several of us have dealt with things as a child and as teenagers that people just flat out don't want to believe.
Yes.
You know, so I wanted you to repeat that again because I think that story got overlooked. You know what I mean?
Right, we say, I'm a white lady, so why do I care? But it's also, and I've been told this, and this kind of opened my eyes too. The black people here were discriminated against, and now we're saying, well, you need to fight for equality. Why? Why is it their job to fix what was broken and done to them? No. We all need to fix it, and we need to take charge to fix it. But we don't tell the victims they need to fix it, right? So I think that's important to remember.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so tell us, because I'm watching time, tell us where we are today with the marker.
Okay, so we got our 2 approvals. Yay! The biggest one was through the Commissioner's Court. So we got our approval through the Grayson County Historical Commission. We got our 2nd approval through the Grayson County Commissioner's Court. Our 3rd approval comes through the state of Texas, the Texas Historical Commission. So this the approval date fell under the time frame for a thing called undertold markers. And this application was sent in to the state as an undertold marker. And basically this is a program that the state of Texas puts on that talked about history that is not normally talked about or has been forgotten or that people just don't want to talk about, like in our case. So they picked 15 different subjects, and if you get picked, the state of Texas will pay for your marker.
Gotcha.
So we are in the running right now. And we've talked to the state, and since this has had so much publicity, this was such a big deal, we're pretty sure it's going to get picked. We're very optimistic. So that's what we're waiting for. It was a little bit of a glitch after the Commissioner's Court. So what normally happens is the county judge would sign the application, and then myself as a sponsor, because I did the research paper, would submit the application to the state. But on this case, the county judge kind of did an unprecedented move where he sent the application himself. So he kind of became the sponsor of the marker, which makes me nervous because we want to have some say in this because this has been fought by the county for you now. So we want to be the sponsor. So we sent an application also as a sponsor, and in lieu of his signature, we put the meeting minutes. So we're not sure how this is going to go down. We're hoping it goes smoothly, but on February 2nd, February 3rd, we'll find out if we get picked.
Okay.
And then the next step will be the state will send out marker wording to the sponsors. We agree on wording, and then location gets picked at the courthouse, and then it'll go to the foundry to get printed. So it'll probably still be another year and a half before we're completely done.
Quick question, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said the wording. So who? I know it goes to whoever sponsors it, and then who actually decides the bottom line?
This has been talked about a lot in our case because I posted some wording on the Facebook page. So what happened was I talked to one of the commissioners and said, hey, we need to get this on the agenda. He said, and this commissioner told me, I need to know what I'm voting on. I need to know what it's going to say. And I thought, you know what, that's fair.
Right.
So we came up with some wording, and then we worked with the Grayson County Historical Commission. We changed it a couple of times, something they agreed with, and we sent that in to the commissioners. So when we actually sent in the application, they had changed some of that wording at the beginning. They had said that George Hughes, it was a punishment trial. I've never heard the term punishment trial. It was just a few things we weren't sure about, but 75%, 90% of the wording was the exact same wording we submitted. So the state has both of our recommendations, the one the county judge and that committee did and the ones that we came up with. But the state of Texas is going to have the final wording.
Gotcha. Okay. So really quick, guys, I'm going to put a pause here because we're at 27 minutes. I know. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk to Barbara here just a little bit more before we wrap up. She's got some things that are coming down the pipeline that she mentioned in February that I want to make sure that we know. And then Melissa will wrap up with you basically pretty much what's coming and how we are going to continue to educate everybody about the history and other things that you've got going on. So we'll be back. Okay, guys. So guys out there that are listening, we're going to come back, but we're going to come back on the episode, and you guys, thanks Brad for that cough there, you guys will have to tune in on the episode. So we will come back later on, and you guys tune in on Sunday when I drop it. Bye.